Welcome to Love and Trauma, the real deal. I'm Danielle Sebastian, best-selling author, coach, and yes, I've been through the marriage trenches myself. This show is all about how to actually deal with trauma in relationships and make it work without losing your mind. If you're ready for honest talk, no fluff, and tools that cut through the noise, tune in because let's face it, love can be a bit of a mess, but it's a mess worth figuring out. This is Love and Trauma, the real deal.
Danielle, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but this is episode 22 of Love and Trauma, the real deal. Honestly, when I started this show, I just wanted to create the thing I could never find. Because when my marriage was on the brink and I was silently drowning in the emotional chaos of being married to someone with childhood trauma, there was no guidebook, no real talk, no, oh, hey, me too. So I made it my mission to build that space for us, for the wives quietly carrying it all, second guessing every word, trying to hold the relationship together without losing themselves in the process. And in honor of this 22nd episode and the fact that my next round of group coaching kicks off on May 13th, I wanted to do something really special. So I invited 3 of my coaching clients to come on and share the raw, honest truth about how things shifted in their relationship. You guys, these are real wives, not influencers or therapists, just women like you sitting in their own homes, trying to make sense of the triggers, the outbursts, the silence, and the deep desire to still make it work. You're going to hear Heather's story of going from resentment and walking on eggshells to reclaiming her joy without needing her husband to change first. Jill's breakthrough around letting go of the pressure to fix her husband and finally getting the peace we've been chasing for years. And one wife who started this journey before he even said, I do, and credits it with saving her marriage before it had the chance to unravel. This episode is packed with hope, truth, and those holy crap, it's not just me moments. So grab your tea or lock yourself in the bathroom for a little peace and quiet. We've all been there, and come.
Um, the 2 that come to mind the most are better communication between my husband and I, because felt like we were speaking different languages often to one another, and connection. And that, of course, the communication affected the connection. And there were just times it did not make sense why we couldn't connect when it felt like all of the needed items were there to connect, and yet there was still this kind of wall or block between us. So I really wanted to understand that better and understand his trauma better and how that affects how we weren't connecting or what we could do to connect better.
Yeah, and how did the coaching program help you overcome some of those?
Really going more in depth into trauma and what it actually does to alter one's brain, but also into how our responses can better shape, well, really just success in the relationship. I kept thinking that there was something I could actually do to fix my husband or something I wasn't doing that could help, and there was like a magic code somewhere out there that I just didn't know. But more of it was this is what happened. Let's accept it. But then also, it's not my fault that that happened. And it also wasn't my responsibility to fix him, but I could definitely be a part of the healing process. So just kind of separating mentally, and then with some skills and coping tools, like to be better supported so that I could help in the process, but not also take it all on myself and make it, okay, your job in life is to fix this man who's had a lot of trauma, but more in a healthy manner. You can support him, and you can also know when to even step out for a minute, and give him some space, and better how to wait sometimes to bring things up, timing, all of those things I feel like helped with connection, and also for me to get more support, people I can talk to, places I can go. Again, just a lot of it was disconnecting from the idea that somehow in some way I could either fix him and or that it was my responsibility to, or there was something I wasn't doing right.
Yeah, I definitely felt that for you
Mhm.
throughout the program. Can you
Yeah.
share a specific like breakthrough that you experienced during the program that made a significant impact?
Yes. There were several, but the one that I think sticks out the most was "This isn't about me." Um, and that was really helpful because when we would talk through, it was helpful to talk through the actual arguments that we had sometimes, and to be like to feel safe to do that, because a lot of times I like to cover up the bad parts. But it felt really comfortable to talk to you, Danielle, and to also go into, a lot of times it had nothing to do with me. So I didn't have to be like a master um, sleuth to figure out every single reason why he was responding, why he was, but to also understand, this actually doesn't have to do with me. And I could say that, and then I can leave the room if that's, what's needed, just to diffuse the argument or the situation. Um, so that was really helpful and really empowering, and very, just a lot healthier way to deal with it, instead of like, let's talk this all out and figure it all out, when, um, there probably aren't words to describe some of the things that he was actually feeling, because he's, still trying to figure them out himself. So to talk about it ad nauseum is really not helpful. So for either of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That is one of the things that when I realized that in my it just didn't seem intuitive.
No,
I mean,
no,
it's
you
something you have
think.
to practice. But man, it's releasing. You can release a lot from yourself. Love that.
A lot lighter. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
freer for that.
Lighter. How did you feel about your ability to reach the goals that you had in the program before and now after?
Before the program, I honestly had read a lot of books. I had listened to a lot of um, counsel or wisdom. We had actually been to marriage counseling twice. I was in individual counseling twice over the years. So there was a lot of effort. Sorry. There was a lot of effort being put towards better connection and understanding. However, it seemed like there was still this missing piece that I couldn't quite, I guess, get to or verbalize. So after the counseling, there's just, again, this idea of um, once you understand what the issue is, the illness in a sense, or problem, once you understand that better and can get it from a perspective of someone who's lived through it and also has utilized these tools, and thousands of other people have as well, it's super helpful to know that, like, again, you just can't go out on more dates or use the love languages, as you say, even though those are helpful, like that's not going to solve the problem. When you actually can look at part of the main issue is trauma, and then these are helpful ways to deal with that have proven to be successful. And now I feel like, okay, click back into, okay, this isn't about me mode. And again, get the support, sometimes walk away, come back and revisit it. Do it while we're on a walk. Talk about the issues while we're on a walk. All of those skills, having utilized them and then knowing I had to be accountable to you to come back and have a conversation about it later, helped me to be far more likely to use them, and also helped to better understand why something worked or maybe why it didn't work as well, and to look at that just at face value and adjust for the next time. So,
what was your favorite part of the coaching experience?
I think we laughed a lot. Just, I don't know. You're a very genuine person. And so to connect with somebody that lives thousands of miles away, but that has a very similar experience it's, again, with having traumatic background, although it's kind of commonplace, it's not something people talk about. It's not something people have a lot of open dialogue and just, oh, well, this is great, that it's just not something people want to talk about when it is such a painful background. And to be quite honest, my husband barely even would talk to me about it. So to have somebody else that really gets that and understands that feels like a missing piece that I didn't even know I was missing until I started getting into it. It's like, oh, there's other people that have had very similar, if not almost identical experiences in some senses. And then look, though, now they are in a healthier place, which again, that's the goal of counseling, but we never seem to get there. Even with couples, we just never seem to get like to a place where there was a lot of success. And I've seen more of it through this program than even my individual counseling. Although it was super helpful and I'm not knocking it, I needed this specific counseling as well. So, yeah.
Would you recommend this coaching program to others?
Oh, yes, I already have. I have a couple family members I've spoken to about it. I have a friend I've shared a little bit about it from that had a traumatic past herself. So, yes, absolutely.
Jill,
very helpful.
You're amazing. Can't wait to see where the rest of your experiences in life take you. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Can you talk about how you felt about your ability to reach your goals before and then now after?
Oh my gosh, there was no reaching goals before. I was thinking he's going to leave me. He's going to divorce me. I wasn't about to leave or divorce him because I said, this is the last time I am getting married. We are not, this is it. We are staying together. That's it. And I thought, I guess we're just going to be miserable then because this is how things are going. And now it's not even a question. It's like divorce is not even a possibility in my mind. I don't think it is in his either. We're just growing closer and closer. Even if we don't understand the episodes that happen, which have not happened in quite a long time, he knows he's safe with me, which was not the case before. He wasn't sure he was safe with me before. And I feel like the goals have been reached. And yeah, I got what I came here for.
Amazing. What was your favorite part of the coaching experience?
The one-on-one meetings. If I had to do this just looking through a workbook or something, number one, it wouldn't have felt as accountable. I knew you gave me assignments, I had to get them done. And if somebody's not watching and expecting me to perform or do something, put it off till I just don't ever do it.
I remember a couple of times when you'd be like, I did it this morning
Yeah.
because I knew I had to get on the phone with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you did it the day before. I love that.
Yep. I have to have a partner or a coach or a teacher or somebody that's like, you have to do this. So that really helped.
Would you recommend this coaching program to others?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh yes. Everybody needs to know about this. Yes, if there's a trauma history that, especially like me, there's nobody else in my life that I know of that has trauma or PTSD diagnosis or anything like that that I'm aware of. If they're in my life and they have it, I don't know it. But the one that I married, oh my gosh, the one that the closest one that I'm in the house with and spend the rest of my life with, he's the one that has to have this. I mean, if somebody has a person in their life that has that going on and their past just keeps creeping up and jumping up on them, yes, people need to know about this training for sure.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience with the program?
I'm sure it saved the marriage. I'm sure it did. And we started in the training before the wedding. So
We did,
I mean,
yes.
yeah, it would be great if people knew about this before they made that commitment. Rather, I mean, I can't imagine starting this 10 years in, going through the Cold Wars and the land mining and the silent treatment for 10 years or 15 years and then finding this. That would be miraculous. But I'm blessed that I didn't have to. I found you before we even got into it. So
Yeah,
I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I am just so pleased and impressed with the work you've done and that, your husband has done as well to get where you are today.
Yeah.
You are officially graduated.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'll add too, he didn't have to do anything. It was all me. So we don't have to do this as partners, and he doesn't have to be a part of it to make everything okay. I just needed to adjust myself, and I learned how to do that.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Banging your head against the wall trying to navigate the complexities of a relationship impacted by childhood trauma? It doesn't have to be this daunting. When you're married to a partner with unresolved childhood trauma, it can feel like you're walking on eggshells, never quite knowing what will set them off. No matter what you try, it feels like there's always something triggering another emotional response that seems completely out of context. And the harder you try to fix it, the more discouraged you feel. So what's the issue here? Navigating marriage with a trauma survivor is different. The love languages don't work. Date nights don't work. Self-help books don't help. But here's the good news. I've created something that does work. Something built from years of hard-earned lessons and real-life experience. Ready to take the first step toward real change? Let's talk. I'm offering a free one-on-one call where we'll dive into what's going on in your relationship and figure out a way forward together. This isn't just another quick chat. It's a chance to finally be heard, to share what you're going through with someone who truly gets it. No judgment, just real support. So if you're ready to start making sense of it all and find a little more peace in your marriage, book your free call now. Your happiness, your peace, and your relationship are worth it. Let's do it together.
Thank you so much, Heather, for joining us today and answering a few questions about how your experience with the program went.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what specific challenges or goals did you have before starting this coaching program?
So some problems and challenges I had before meeting with Danielle and joining the program. My husband had really become withdrawn. he had turned to alcohol to kind of cope with some of his emotions. And when he would have, you know, these situations pop up, or triggers, as you will, it would almost push me away. And we have 4-year-old twins, which was ultimately affecting their relationship with their dad. And we were all walking on eggshells. We didn't know kind of what was going to set him off, what kind of reaction we were going to get. And he was ultimately fading into like a deep, dark depression and on the verge of alcoholism. And so there was lots of fighting, there was lots of yelling, there was a lot of built up resentment. And ultimately, I had almost given up that there was any opportunity for us to save our marriage, let alone our family.
Thank you for that. How did the coaching program help you overcome those challenges?
The coaching program, I think, first and foremost, helped me realize that I wasn't alone in the program, in the situation I was in, right? It helped me realize that there are other individuals going through very similar things in their relationship. So I think it helped me build the confidence to support my husband, but also build confidence within myself. I remember telling Danielle several times that I had almost just felt lost in myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. Um, as much as I enjoyed my kids and as much as I love my husband, the ultimate joy was gone. And I think, I really think realizing that you're not alone in this kind of season, and realizing it's not something that you should be ashamed about, and that there is hope. And so this program really gave me that.
Thank you so much for that. Can you share a specific moment or breakthrough that you experienced with the program?
A specific moment. It's hard for me to narrow down to just one, but there have been a few that really has kind of just been like an aha moment. Um, there was, he hadn't been drinking per se, but it was slowly getting on that path, and I could I just knew the pattern, right? And he started wanting to bicker and nitpick, and finally I just looked at him, I said, this isn't about me, and I'm gonna go do whatever I was going to do at that point. And it almost just stunned him at that moment and kind of took him back. I think that was probably one of the initial moments. And once I started getting in the habit and implementing the pause method, and reminding myself that his emotional outburst or his seasons of withdrawal were not about me. It wasn't about the kids. It was a trigger to something else. And the best way that I could cope with it was to remove myself. And me and the twins would go outside and play. We would go for a walk. We would, have kind of those moments where we were allowing him to have his moment, but we weren't engaging in the negativity with it either. And once he realized, in my opinion, once he realized that I really wasn't trying to nag him about it, I really wasn't trying to engage in some of the argument or bickering or whatever you want to call it, he started, I think, to open his eyes and like, oh, okay, it's like she's not buying into this game, right? And I basically just stopped allowing him to take it out on me. Um, from there, I signed up for a personal trainer. I started meeting with my friends again, and basically have found myself, and I didn't ask for permission. And I think it's kind of allowed me to find my independence and some of my outlets again. Um, but I think it's also helped him realize I don't necessarily need that to be able to be a cohesive unit, that I'll make it work regardless. And, but I remember that one moment, and I don't even remember the details at this point, like what was even occurring. Typically, it would always be the twins had an outburst or some sort of tantrum over a toy or something, and he just couldn't handle it. And something along those lines had occurred. And when I just looked at him and said, this isn't about me. So if you want to go take it out on something else, like, have at it. At that moment, things just really started to shift. And then I felt more empowered too. So it was just like a trickle effect for both of us.
It's so true. Yeah, it seems counterintuitive and scary, to do that. But then when you do it a couple of times and you realize, the impact of that, it makes a big difference. I think that was a definite moment for you.
Yes. And I think too, as a wife, you want to support your husband by saying, you really shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this, right? And allowing them to do whatever it is that they need to do and not hearing that from the sidelines. I think one is extremely hard to get out of that mindset as a spouse, but I think ultimately that's the turning point for the trauma-induced individual.
100% agree. Switching gears just a little bit, I'm curious about how did you feel about your ability to reach your goals before and then after the program?
As far as reaching my goals, I think Danielle may agree, but I had little hope. Like, I was like, there's no way, none. It's like, where we live, I don't live near family, so that support system isn't here. And I really think in some cases, the things my husband has gone through, because it wasn't always happening behind closed doors, he had kind of tainted the relationships that we had with some of our friends. And so some of those outlets had kind of fizzled, in all honesty, some of that support system. And so, once I started building those and once I kind of started opening up a little more, once I began feeling empowered, I was like, okay, I got this. And it was that first time that I went out on a limb. I was like, all right, I'm going to the gym. I think that was the turning point for me, is making the sacrifice to go to the gym in the morning, because I ended up leaving him having to get the kids loaded up and taken to school. A lot of times I would try to get them dressed before I left, but it didn't happen all the time. And that's hard in the mornings. And, after one time, I just kept feeling more and more empowered. So after going through the program now, I don't know that invincible is necessarily the right word, but I don't have any doubts that if there's something I want to do, I will figure out a way to make it happen. And it's not going to cause any extra stressors on me. And ultimately, I've kind of put it behind me not to worry so much about if it's a trigger point for him, right? Because I still deserve those moments. And I have to be prepared to respond to his emotional trigger, but I don't let it keep me from doing the things that I want to do or that the kids want to do.
Yeah, you realize that setting boundaries is that it may be uncomfortable, but it's still necessary.
Yes.
Right? And then not taking that personally.
Yes.
I saw that with you for sure. That's awesome.
I even think too, some of the boundaries that we've had to set with family members, not only that I've had to set, but that he's taken the step to set, has been tremendous. So, while the program has ultimately helped me learn coping, learn tactics, learning how to find myself again, it's really also taught him some of the skills he needed. Not, directly, but through some of my actions, it's encouraged him to do some things too that's healthier for him.
Yeah, creating different patterns, not just in your relationship, but other relationships that you're associated with.
And so it's been much bigger than just our relationship. I mean, I've applied the principles not only to family, relationships, but I work in HR. So these are also applicable when dealing with employees and other situations like that too.
So true. So
people
God loves
in general,
you.
yes.
People, yes. Oh, all right. What was your favorite part of the coaching experience?
My favorite part of the coaching experience was definitely our one-on-one calls. I don't know how you did it, but for us to meet, over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it is, I immediately had this piece to be fully open. And I wasn't ashamed. So, and a lot of times, I think when you're going through troubles in your marriage or relationship, it's hard to share those things, especially with somebody that you don't really know. So, to be confident and comfortable enough to share that from the get go, I think that made such a trajectory shift in order for this to be successful. I think you were also just as open sharing your experiences and how you would handle situations. And so it was a very personable experience and it wasn't scripted. And so I think that's been my favorite part is building that relationship with you, not only as a coach, but as a friend that I felt fully comfortable and trusting that you had my back and were willing to help.
Yeah. And I love that about you too. You came into this being like, I'm going to do this full force,
Yeah. I mean, I knew I was at the point in, the marriage where something had to give or this was just going to continue to spiral. And I knew that it was going to have to be up to me because he was in such a place that he wasn't going to take that initiative. And I don't even know that he realized how bad it actually was. So I knew for me to be happier mentally, physically, all the things that I had to take the reins and drive this. And so, I mean, this was truly a saving force for us.
Love that. Thank you. Okay, well, two more questions for you.
Okay.
This is so awesome. Thank you. Would you recommend this coaching program to others, and if so, why?
115,000%. Now granted, my husband and I, it's not perfect, right? I mean, he still has his trigger moments, but so I started this program, was it March, April-ish?
Yes. Yep,
So
about March.
we might, 6-ish months ago. And it's hard for me, just in 6 months, the progress that we've made it's hard for me to even describe. Now, again, he's, like I said, he still has his triggers and he'll still have his moments where he gets kind of low. But I've gotten to the point that it doesn't affect me. So then it just doesn't compound over time. Because I think that was a big thing for us is when he would start, I would allow it to really affect me. And I was thinking I did something or the kids did something. And I was constantly trying to figure out a way, something I could change, something the kids could change, something we could change within our routine to avoid, and that's not healthy either for me or for him learning how to cope with those situations. But I can't speak enough volume. It doesn't have to be both parties to take the steps forward to resolve the issue, as long as one person goes full force. And for me, like you said, I came in just here it is. And, I had moved past the shame and embarrassment of what we were going through and knew if this was going to work, I had to be wholeheartedly into it. And it has given me the tools and the steps to start building that happiness back within our marriage and our family. And it's bringing him back to quote unquote his old self, if that makes sense.
It does. And your husband started seeing someone during this process as well.
So, and I think that was a big step. So before you and I started meeting, it was probably a year prior. It was like March of 2023. He had started seeing a therapist. Now, I think I told you, I don't know that was necessarily the right fit for him. And it was in person. he had stopped, and, over the course of us meeting, I was really just encouraging him to find somebody to chat with. And, I said, you don't have to talk to me. I'm here if you want to talk. Also, one of the things that you've kind of really encouraged me and taught me. But he started using growtherapy.com, and, it matched him with a therapist. It's all virtual, and it has paid tremendous dividends. In fact, I will say this, he has been very consistent. Now, the last 2 weeks, he hasn't had an appointment, and he and I both can tell a difference. So, it's it it was a hard step for him to take too, but also giving the tools to help encourage and push him to do that as well. And it became more of his decision, not so much my decision. So then he was more bought into that.
Absolutely. I saw that shift as well. Because when you came in, you were like, he's not going to see anyone.
I was like, no.
You were, no way. That's off the table. But it didn't take long.
No, it didn't. And I think I even told you, so we went on vacation in June, to the point he had actually scheduled therapy session while we were on vacation, 2 of them.
Yes. Which love about that program that you just recommended is that it's on the go. Ready to tap into it at any moment. I love that.
Well, and that's another thing. So along with your program, I can't share enough, and would be happy to talk with anybody else that is interested. But the Growth Therapy, it's almost like a dating website for a therapist. So you can match, you can check out their profiles, but they also bill the insurance. So you don't have to worry about self-paying. And then they have super flexible appointments. My husband typically sees his therapist usually at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. So it doesn't interfere with work. We work around the kids and dinner routine and stuff when we know he has an appointment, and it just is very seamless.
That is amazing, because it's so true. It's so hard to leave your whole day. And I just feel like that program has made it so easy to tap into the things that make you healthy.
Well, and I think too, for men, not to get off on a tangent, I know you're on a time crunch, but I think men too feel a lot of shame going to therapy. And so when you can do something like this virtual, you don't have to ask off for work, right? You don't have to say, hey, I need to go to an appointment. You can do it in the comfort of your home after hours, and nobody has to know about it. So
you don't have to worry about walking in an office and seeing someone Yes. It's so, it hits all my marks for what a trauma survivor is worried about with therapy.
Yes. And I think that was a turning point for my husband, 100%.
Yep. And so kudos for you guys for being able to figure out those nuances to make it work. Love that. Okay, last question. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience that we haven't touched on?
I think as far as my experience goes, I think we've touched on a lot of it, but I can't express enough to somebody interested in starting the program is, don't give up, stay the course. Sometimes it feels a little awkward. Sometimes you're like, there is no way this is going to work. There's no way such and such is going to do this, but it works. And, there were times that we would have our calls and I would be like, Danielle, it's been a terrible week. It's like, I think we're regressing. And as much as sometimes that hurts, as part of the growing process and getting through it. I've actually got your materials printed and on a binder in my desk, so that when I'm having a moment where I'm like, okay, which tool is it that I need to reference? How should I handle the situation? I can pull that and just look at it. And so, making sure not to give up. Even now, I told you the last couple of weeks, I can tell a difference in my husband's mood. He hasn't had therapy. There's been a couple situations happen that I think are starting to trigger a trauma response. But trying to keep that positive mindset and knowing this is just a process in healing for him and for me. But ultimately reminding yourself it's not about you. It's not about you as a spouse. It's not about you as a mother or as a friend. This is deeper than us, right? Like this is ultimately something that has occurred in your loved one or friend or whatever that they have to ultimately cope with. And we just have to be alongside to support them. And I think this journey is not only about healing ourselves, but more so about supporting our spouse, because it's up to them to heal and it's up to them to maybe get to the root of what actually their trauma is. Um, I think you and I had talked about with my husband, I have an idea of maybe what has kind of accumulated during his childhood, but I may never really know what it was. And that's okay. And I don't have to know, as long as I'm there supporting and cheering him on alongside, but allowing myself to heal through the process.
Love that. One last question, because I know I said that was the last one, but that spurred up something for me. Has your idea of supporting your husband through this, how has it changed for you from when you started to now?
I think, before the program, when I would think of supporting my husband, a lot of times it was doing all the things, right? Removing things off his plate and putting it on mine to help avoid stressors, which ultimately, looking back, wasn't doing anything but hurting myself, because it was just giving him more bandwidth to fall into that trauma response rather than learn to cope or push through some of it in a healthy way. And then it was having a negative impact on me, because I think you and I have talked about this. When I first started the program, I was like, I'm exhausted now having 2 kids and I've been sick, but I was completely drained. I think over the course of the program, probably about 5-6 weeks in, about the halfway mark, you had made a comment that it just looked like I was more maybe full of light, I think is a way you described it once before. And I started feeling better and my friends have started noticing. So, by kind of looking at a more healthy way and basically saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm here to help you, but I'm not going to do it for you. Here's what I've aligned, because I'm going to make sure to carve out this time for me. So supporting my husband wasn't necessary. It shifted from doing everything to basically finding that happy medium, making sure stuff still gets done, but carving that time out for me, because that's also supporting my husband. It made me a better person, a better mom, and a better wife. Um, and I think it made him realize that I wasn't going to continue to be his catch-all. And
You were working together on being equal partners.
Yes, and being a catch-all is not, in theory, is not a support for your husband.
And period. That's just, yeah, such it's a shift. It's a shift for every spouse out there. But when you make that shift, it makes all the difference.
Yes, tremendously.
You're awesome.
Back
I
at you,
can't
sister.
wait to see, how your kids grow and your family grows. It's going to be awesome.
I am very excited to see how things kind of progress, and I'm excited about, the community and staying in touch and hopefully helping others as they, go through a very similar season.
Yeah. We all need to be on together for sure.
100%.
Thanks, Heather. Whew. Okay, deep breath, everybody. If you're anything like me, you probably just had to pause this episode 5 different times to wipe your eyes, whisper, same, and maybe take a lap around the house to process, because that was real. These women didn't have it all figured out. They weren't handed a partner who magically got better. They just stopped doing it alone and started doing it differently. So before you go, here's the real deal. 3 things I want you to take away from these incredible interviews. Number 1, it's not about fixing him. It's about freeing you. You're not here to be his emotional shock absorber or unpaid therapist. The second you shift your focus from changing him to reclaiming yourself, everything changes. Number 2, you can love someone deeply and still set boundaries. It's not betrayal. It's not cruelty. It's the most compassionate thing you can do for both of you. Boundaries don't push people away. They give relationships room to breathe. And number 3, you don't need your partner's permission to get healthy. The transformation starts with just one person, just one. And yes, it's hard, but it's possible. These women are proof. You can get your peace back even if your partner isn't ready for therapy, even if he doesn't get it yet, even if you're the only one taking the first step. And if you're sitting there thinking, I want that, I need that, but I don't know where to start, let's talk. You can reach out to me in the comments, DM me on social, or head to my website to schedule a completely free, no pressure call with me. I'll tell you everything you need to know about the coaching program and help you figure out if this is the right next step for you. Because you don't have to keep walking on eggshells, and you don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to wait one more day to feel like yourself again. I'm here and I've got you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time on the show.
All right, that's a wrap for today on Love and Trauma, the real deal. Big thanks to my guests for sharing their insights. Couldn't have done it without you. Now, for those of you looking to take this journey further, I've got something special. Head to my website to grab Real Tactics, Real Healing, a survivor's playbook for navigating a relationship with a trauma survivor. It's packed with everything you need to know, do, and say to navigate the emotional minefield, find your balance, and regain your self-worth and happiness.